My name is Emily and I've made a grave error that haunts me daily. A single phrase spoken in a moment of fleeting frustration has torn my world apart. I never thought a few careless words could reshape my entire existence, but here I am alone, grappling with the consequences of my actions. If you've ever let your emotions cloud your reasoning, if you've ever distanced someone dear to you under the false assumption they'd always return, you might grasp the depth of my sorrow. It all started a few weeks ago during a heated exchange that laid bare the fractures in my bond with James. For 2 years, James and I had built a life together filled with shared moments and dreams. But recently an unease had crept in. Small annoyances and unspoken tensions began to accumulate. Subtle at first, but increasingly undeniable. I tried to convince myself it was temporary, a rough patch every couple endures, that the connection we once cherished would eventually rekindle. Yet, deep within, I sensed a shift, a growing distance that I couldn't ignore. That fateful evening, everything unraveled. I was sprawled on the couch, mindlessly scrolling through my phone, detached from the world around me. From the kitchen, the sharp clanging of pots and pans echoed James' frustration as he attempted to prepare dinner. When he walked into the living room, his face betrayed a storm of emotions, a mix of anger and hurt he was struggling to contain. I could tell he wanted to speak, but I remained silent, emotionally distant, almost numb to the moment. He sat down beside me, the air heavy with unspoken words. After a long pause, he finally spoke, his voice low but laden with concern. "Emily, what's going on? It feels like you're drifting away from me." His question pierced through my defenses, but I wasn't ready to face it. I didn't want to unravel the tangle of emotions swirling inside me. In that moment, all my doubts, fears, and insecurities surged to the surface, overwhelming my restraint. "James, I'm not sure," I replied, my voice shaky, betraying my inner turmoil. "Maybe we're not meant to be together like this. Perhaps we'd be better off just as friends." The words tumbled out before I could stop them. Not because they reflected my true feelings, but because they seemed like a shield against the pain I feared was inevitable. I thought suggesting friendship would soften the blow, that we could remain close without the complexities of romance. His eyes, always so warm and searching, met mine, but they were clouded with confusion. I couldn't read his thoughts, and even now I wonder what was going through his mind. Without a word, he rose and left the room. I assumed he just needed a moment to process, that he'd return soon and we'd work through it as we always had. After all, we'd navigated challenges before, hadn't we? But hours passed, and there was no sign of him. At first I brushed it off, telling myself he needed space to cool off. Surely we'd talk it out soon like we always did. But the next day brought only silence, no calls, no messages, nothing. Another day passed and the quiet grew deafening. Desperate, I sent him a text, my fingers trembling as I typed. "James, please, can we talk?" I didn't mean what I said. I was just scared. "Can we fix this?" No reply came. Anger began to simmer within me. How could he ignore me like this? How could he take my words so literally? We'd faced worse storms together, hadn't we? I hadn't meant it the way it sounded. This couldn't be the end of us. Not so abruptly. On the third day, my phone finally buzzed with a message from him, and my heart plummeted as I read his words. "Emily, I've been thinking about what you said, and I agree. Friendship might be the best path for us. I need time to figure things out, but I don't think we can return to what we had." Each word struck like a dagger, sharp and unforgiving. How could he accept my impulsive suggestion so readily? How could he walk away from everything we'd built together? Then it hit me, I was the one who had set this in motion. I had spoken the words that framed our love as something expendable, something we could discard. I had foolishly believed he'd fight to keep us together, that he'd beg me to reconsider, but he didn't. He didn't need to. I had made the choice for both of us. In the days that followed, I tried desperately to reach him. I called, left voicemails filled with apologies, sent long messages pouring out my regrets and pleading for another chance. I told him I hadn't meant those words, that I needed him in my life, that we could rebuild what we'd lost. Each attempt was met with silence, and that silence grew heavier, more oppressive, with every unanswered message. It felt as though I was being erased from his world, as if our shared history meant nothing to him. One evening, I spotted him at a local bar, laughing with friends. I tried to act casual, to pretend nothing was wrong. But when I approached him, his gaze was distant, his tone polite but icy. "Hey, Emily, I'm doing fine. How about you?" he said, his voice devoid of the warmth that once defined us. It was as if the man I'd known for 2 years had vanished, replaced by a stranger. He didn't linger, didn't say goodbye, didn't even look back as he walked away. I left the bar and wandered home, consumed by a loneliness so profound it seemed to engulf me entirely. Reflecting on our time together, the laughter, the tears, the moments we'd supported each other through life's trials, I realized the magnitude of my mistake. I had pushed him away, arrogantly assuming he'd stay no matter what I said. I had offered him an escape, naively believing he'd reject it when I should have held him closer, cherished what we had. Now, the chasm between us was vast, and I had no idea how to cross it. He didn't want to mend things. He didn't want to return. A week later, I visited his apartment to retrieve my belongings. He wasn't there, and the place felt eerily still, a hollow shell of the life we'd once shared. On a shelf, I noticed a photo of us capturing a moment of joy now lost. I couldn't bear to look at it for long. I set it down gently and left, carrying with me the weight of everything I'd lost. It's been a month since that day. I've reached out a few more times, but I've stopped expecting a response. I've stopped hoping I can undo the damage I caused. I suggested we be just friends, and in doing so, I lost him forever. If you've ever pushed someone away, thinking you could control the consequences, think twice. A single reckless sentence can shatter everything, and you may never have the chance to take it back.